My family forgot my birthday for 17 years. While spending thousands on my siblings, I threw my own luxury party without inviting them, and the slideshow I showed left them broken. I'm 25 years old. I work as a software developer, and until recently, I basically lived my entire life feeling like a ghost in my own family. And I need to tell this because what happened last year finally made me understand that I wasn't crazy, that everything I felt for years was real and valid. I guess I should start at the beginning, when I was like 8 years old and it was my birthday. Well, technically it was my birthday, but nobody in my house seemed to remember it. I woke up that morning expecting, the usual, someone to say happy birthday or for there to be at least a small cake, but nothing. My mom was busy making lunch, my dad reading the newspaper, and my siblings doing their things as if it were just another day. I waited all day thinking that maybe it was a surprise, that at some point they were going to jump out and yell surprise, but it never happened. At the end of the day, my mom saw me and said, "Oh, right, happy birthday, Alex," like she had just remembered, and gave me a quick hug before going back to what she was doing. What hurt the most was that just 2 weeks earlier, they had thrown a huge party for Vincent, my older brother. I'm talking about a party with like 50 people, decorations all over the house, a 3-tier cake that must have cost a fortune, gifts galore, the whole show. And then for me, they didn't even remember until it was already nighttime. I remember thinking, well, maybe next year will be different. Maybe it was just a mistake. But looking back, I should have seen it coming, because that pattern repeated itself. Literally every year of my childhood and adolescence. Every single year. Let me paint you the full picture of what my family was like. There were 5 of us. My parents, Vincent, who's 3 years older than me in the middle, and Charlotte, who's 4 years younger. And for as long as I can remember, I was always the one who didn't matter as much. You know what I mean? Vincent was the golden child, the one who did everything perfectly, the prodigy son who got the best grades and played soccer and basically could do whatever he wanted, and my parents adored him. Charlotte was the baby of the family, the little princess everyone doted on and protected, and I was in the middle, just kind of floating there, existing but not really present to them. Birthdays were the perfect example of this. When Vincent had a birthday, my mom would start planning months in advance. She'd talk to all the aunts and uncles, the cousins, Vincent's friends, reserve places, hire entertainers when we were kids, then DJs when we got older. Once for his 15th birthday, my mom organized a Star Wars-themed party with custom decorations and even hired people dressed as characters. It must have cost thousands of dollars, literally thousands. And Vincent would brag about it for weeks, before and after. And my parents would be there taking pictures of every moment, super proud of the party they had organized. Charlotte got the same treatment. When she turned 6, they threw her a princess party, with a bouncy castle, magicians, face painting, gifts up to the ceiling. At 10, they organized a sleepover with all her friends at a hotel, with spa included and everything. My parents went all out to make every one of Charlotte's birthdays magical and unforgettable. And I would watch them do all that and think, well, surely when it's my turn they'll do something special too. But it never happened. For my birthdays, if they even remembered on time, it was like, here's $50, buy yourself something, or I'll take you to eat wherever you want, but nothing more. There were never parties, never decorations, never that effort to invite people or do something memorable. When I turned 13, which is supposed to be important, you know what happened? My mom told me she was going to make me a cake, but she was too tired, so we ended up buying one at the supermarket. We ate it, just the 5 of us at the dining table. Like super quickly, because Vincent had practice and Charlotte had ballet class, and that was it. Literally 15 minutes and done. Meanwhile, I remember that for Vincent's 13th, they had rented an entire party hall with a DJ and lights, and there were like 70 people there. And it wasn't just birthdays, it was everything. Vincent played soccer and my parents went to all his games, screamed from the stands, supported him in everything. I tried joining the robotics club in middle school, and when I told them, my mom said, "Oh, that's nice," and never asked anything about it again. They never went to see any of my presentations or competitions. Charlotte started violin lessons, and my parents took her religiously every week, bought her an expensive violin, went to all her recitals. I told them I wanted to learn guitar, and my dad gave me an old guitar he had stored in the garage and told me to look up tutorials on YouTube. That's how it always was. The two of them got attention, resources, time, and I got scraps. But the worst part is that when I tried to talk about this, like when I was 16 and finally gathered the courage to tell my mom I felt ignored, she got super defensive. She told me I was being dramatic, that they loved me the same as everyone, that I was too sensitive and needed to mature. My dad simply avoided the topic, changed the conversation every time I tried to bring it up, and Vincent and Charlotte acted like I was crazy for even suggesting there was favoritism. Vincent would tell me to stop complaining and be grateful for what I had, and Charlotte didn't understand anything because for her, everything was perfect. So eventually I stopped saying anything and just accepted that this was how things were, that I was the middle child who didn't matter as much, and that was it. When I graduated high school, my parents went to the ceremony. Yes, but they spent the whole time talking about how Vincent had just gotten an athletic scholarship to college, and that was the most exciting thing. When I got into college to study software engineering, my mom said, "That's fine. Do what you want," but not with the pride and excitement she had when Vincent was accepted to, I don't know how many prestigious universities. And when I moved out on my own at 22, because I got a good job in another city, it was basically like, okay, bye. Whereas when Vincent left home, it was a whole drama with tears and farewell dinners. So we get to last year, when I turned 25. At that point, I had been with my girlfriend Rebecca for like 3 years, who's amazing, by the way, and she had seen this whole family dynamic and had told me 1,000 times that it wasn't normal, that I deserved better, and I was already at a point in my life where I had a stable job that paid well. I had good friends. I had Rebecca, and I was sick of feeling bad about how my family treated me. So, like 2 months before my birthday, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do. It's something for myself this year, something big that I want to do, no matter what anyone else thinks. I started planning in secret. First, I decided I was going to throw my own birthday party, but not just any party, something elaborate like the ones my parents organized for Vincent and Charlotte. I rented a space at a local hotel that had a nice hall with a view of the city, hired decent catering, bought decorations, made personalized invitations. I invited all my friends from work, friends from college, some cousins I actually got along with, basically all the people I really cared about. I didn't invite my parents or Vincent or Charlotte, and this is important. It wasn't an oversight. It was a deliberate decision. And here comes the part that I know sounds a bit petty, but I needed to do it. I prepared a slideshow with photos from all my birthdays since I was a kid. Photos of Vincent and Charlotte's birthdays with their huge parties and the whole family there happy, and then photos of me on my birthdays where it was literally just me with a supermarket cake or not even that. The difference was brutal. I mean, you couldn't look at it and not realize something was wrong. And at the end of the slideshow, I put a message that said something like, "Thank you to everyone who's here today, truly celebrating with me. It means everything to me." But wait, there's more. I also decided I was going to give myself a gift, something big. I booked a luxury cruise for 2 weeks, one of those that costs like $5,000 per person, with a cabin with a private balcony and everything. I was going to take Rebecca, and I also invited my best friend Andrew and his girlfriend. Basically, I decided to spend the money I had saved on something I wanted, instead of continuing to wait for my family to make me feel special. The day of the party arrived, and it was amazing. Like, really perfect. The place looked beautiful. The food was delicious. Like 60 people came who really cared about me. When I played the slideshow, there was an awkward silence at first because everyone realized what I was showing, and then people started coming up to hug me and tell me I deserved this and so much more. It was super emotional. Honestly, I cried a little, I'll admit it. And then when I announced the cruise, everyone screamed and got excited with me. Andrew told me afterwards that he had never seen me so happy, and he was right. I felt liberated somehow. Obviously, my family found out about the party because several of my cousins were there and posted photos on social media, and then the messages started. First, it was Vincent, saying I was being immature and dramatic. How dare I not invite them? That family was the most important thing. Charlotte sent me a super long message saying she was hurt and didn't understand why I had excluded her. My mom called me like 10 times in a row until I finally answered, and she yelled at me that I was ungrateful, that after everything they had done for me, this is how I repaid them. That I was embarrassing the family. My dad didn't say anything at first, which was typical of him. I responded to everyone with basically the same message, something like, "You never did anything like this for me in 25 years, so I decided to do it myself. And I didn't invite you because, honestly, I didn't want you to ruin something that was finally for me." That made them even angrier. My mom sent me messages saying I was being selfish, that they had always treated me the same as my siblings, that I was the one making up problems where there weren't any. Vincent said I had always been the dramatic one in the family and needed to grow up. Charlotte kept insisting she had never done anything bad to me and didn't understand why I was punishing her. Like a week after the party, my parents showed up at my apartment without warning. My dad knocked on the door, and when I opened it, there they both were, with those serious faces they make when they think they're going to teach you a lesson. My mom walked in without being invited and started with how we needed to talk about my recent behavior, that I had crossed a line, that I needed to apologize to the whole family. And me standing there in my own living room thinking, are they really doing this? I told them I had nothing to apologize for, that for the first time in my life I had done something special for me and I wasn't going to feel bad about it. My dad tried to be the mediator, like, well, son, we understand you feel that way, but your mom is very hurt. Maybe we can all calm down and resolve this as a family. And I said to him, where was that concern for my feelings all these years? Where were you when my birthdays went unnoticed? Where were you when I felt invisible in my own home? My mom got furious and said I was exaggerating everything, that they had been good parents and I was distorting reality to make myself the victim. That phrase, make myself the victim, was like a punch in the gut because it basically invalidated everything I had felt for years. I told them to leave. I told them that until they could admit they had treated me differently, that they had ignored and belittled me, I had nothing more to talk to them about. My mom left furious, saying that someday I was going to mature and realize how wrong I was. My dad stayed a moment longer and said, your mom is very upset, give her time. But he didn't acknowledge anything I had said to him. He just wanted me to be the one to give in, as always. 2 weeks later, I went on the cruise with Rebecca and Andrew and his girlfriend, and it was honestly the best decision I could have made. 2 weeks without thinking about my family, without guilt trip messages, just enjoying. The cruise was incredible. We visited like 6 different countries, ate at fancy restaurants every night, spent entire days at the beach or exploring new cities. Rebecca told me one night while we were on the balcony of our cabin watching the ocean that she had never seen me so relaxed, and she was right. It was like I had taken a huge weight off my shoulders. While I was on the cruise, my family kept sending me messages. I'd read them occasionally but wouldn't respond. Vincent saying I was being ridiculous. Charlotte saying the family missed me. My mom alternating between angry messages and more manipulative messages like, I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're breaking my heart. But I had already decided I wasn't going to let them make me feel guilty again for prioritizing myself. When I came back from the cruise, I basically cut contact with them. I left the family group chat, stopped responding to messages, stopped going to family gatherings. It was liberating but also strange, you know? Because no matter how toxic the dynamic was, they were my family. It was all I knew. But I also knew I needed to do that for my mental health, because every interaction with them left me feeling bad about myself. I focused on my life, on my job, which was going very well, on Rebecca, who was incredibly understanding about all this, on my friends who had become my chosen family. Like 6 months after the cruise, I proposed to Rebecca at a romantic dinner, and she said yes. And it was perfect. We started planning the wedding, something small and intimate just with the people who really mattered to us. Obviously, we didn't invite my parents or Vincent or Charlotte. I invited some cousins who had always been good to me, but immediate family, no. The wedding was beautiful. We had like 40 guests at an outdoor venue overlooking a lake. Everything was going perfectly until in the middle of the reception, right after Rebecca and I had our first dance. I saw my mom walking into the venue. I don't know how she found out where it was or when, but there she was, walking toward me with that look of determination I knew so well. My heart sank in my chest because I knew she was going to ruin the moment. My mom got to where Rebecca and I were standing and started talking loudly, loud enough for several guests to hear. She said something like, "I can't believe your own son doesn't invite you to his wedding. That this was a disgrace. How could I do this to her after she had given me life?" Rebecca tried to tell her to leave, that she wasn't invited, but my mom ignored her and continued, saying, I had always been the problematic one in the family, that I was always seeking attention, and that now I was doing this show just to hurt her. Andrew and other friends had to escort her out of the venue while she kept yelling things. She said I was a terrible son, that I was going to regret this, that the family would never forgive me. It was humiliating and painful, but also in a way confirmed I had made the right decision not to invite them, because even at my wedding, she had to make everything about her, about how she felt hurt, without caring that it was my day. After the wedding, my dad called me, and I thought, maybe, just maybe, he was going to be on my side this time. But no. He called me to tell me I needed to apologize to my mom, that she was devastated, that having her thrown out of the wedding had been too far. I asked him if he was ever going to acknowledge how they had treated me all these years, and there was a long silence. And then he said, "Your mom did the best she could. We all make mistakes. You have to learn to forgive." Basically, again, putting the responsibility on me to fix something I hadn't broken. I told him I wasn't going to keep having this conversation, that if he couldn't see the problem, then there was nothing more to say. I hung up and felt, I don't know, empty, but also relieved. Like I had finally closed a door I should have closed years ago. But there was one last thing I needed to do. Like a month after the wedding, I went to my mom's house, alone, without Rebecca. I knocked on the door, and when she opened it, she was surprised to see me. I told her I needed an honest answer. Just one question. Why? Why were Vincent and Charlotte always more important? Why was I never enough for her? And I expected her to deny everything again, but this time she didn't. My mom stood there at the entrance and told me, with a coldness I'll never forget, that Vincent had always been special, that he had talent and charisma, that Charlotte was her baby and needed more attention, and that I was different. She said I never tried as hard as Vincent, that I was quieter and harder to connect with, that she simply responded to the energy each of her children gave her. Basically, she admitted she had treated me differently, and her justification was that I deserved it less because I wasn't as exceptional as them. I didn't cry there in front of her. I held back, but inside something broke and at the same time something fell into place. Because I finally had confirmation that I wasn't crazy, that everything I had felt was real. I told her thank you for finally being honest, and that I hoped she and Vincent and Charlotte would be very happy together, but that I wasn't going to be part of that anymore. I left that house and knew it was the last time I was going to try to have any kind of relationship with them. Now, it's been like 8 months since all that. Rebecca and I are living together in our apartment. We're making plans to move to a bigger house next year. My job is going amazing. I got promoted 3 months ago, and I'm leading an important project. I spend time with my friends who have become my true family. We celebrate birthdays together, have dinners, support each other. My biological family tries to contact me from time to time, especially on important dates like Christmas, but I don't respond anymore. I blocked my mom on everything after that last conversation because her messages only made me feel bad. Sometimes I feel bad about how it all ended. I mean, I never thought I was going to be the person who cuts contact with an entire family, but I also know it was necessary. I can't keep living seeking the approval and love of people who are never going to give it to me in the way I need. And what I've learned is that family isn't just the people you share blood with, it's the people who choose you and support you and make you feel valuable. Rebecca told me recently that since I cut contact with them, she sees me happier, more at peace, and I think she's right. I no longer carry that constant weight of feeling inferior or ignored. Last month was my 26th birthday, and I celebrated it with Rebecca, Andrew, and his girlfriend, and some other close friends. We went to dinner at a nice restaurant and then to a bar. It was simple. No big shows, but I felt more loved and appreciated in those few hours than in all my childhood birthdays combined. Rebecca gave me a ticket to a concert of my favorite band and made me a photo album of all the good moments we've shared this past year. I cried when I saw it, because I realized that this is what it's supposed to feel like, being loved and celebrated for just being me. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, if my family will ever understand what they did or if they'll keep believing I'm the problem. Honestly, I don't care as much as I used to. I've built a life that makes me happy, with people who truly value me, and that's enough for me. Sometimes I think about how things would have been if my parents had treated all three of us equally, if they had made me feel important too. But I can't change the past. I can only decide how I move forward. And I've decided to move forward without them, surrounded by the people who see me, who listen to me, who celebrate every part of who I am. And honestly, I feel freer than I've ever felt in my entire life.